Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Wave Watch. Back to kick off the season, second week of the season. You got Patty V. We got Dave Rainey behind the camera over there. He'll probably be on camera a little bit as well, showing his beautiful face. And we have a new guest who has just recently joined the know. I'm going to introduce him real quick, and then I'll talk about what we're going to do. We got Patrick Harkness. What do you go by, man? I haven't even asked you.
Patrick.
Pat?
Yeah.
Pat and Pat. I didn't even think of that. We got two Pats here on the set.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of articles for us for Tulane. Really loved his stuff. He's got a lot of insight. We were actually chatting a little bit before, so just the things that he knows about kind of how the way we're operating right now is pretty cool. So definitely excited to get your take on a lot of this stuff. We're gonna do some game recaps from last week. Obviously both teams played FCS opponents, so we'll dive into that. And then Tulane's got Kansas State this week, so we'll talk about that, and then we'll close out with some Lanyap stuff. Yeah.
All right, so like you said, let's recap week one.
Yeah.
Tulane first. Tulane, of course, beat Southeastern 52-0. Obviously, the biggest story of the game was Darian Mensah's first start. So let's start there. What were y'all just overall impressions of him? And, we'll deep dive into that a little bit. Patrick, if you want to go first.
I mean, like the Cali cool kid. I mean, calm, poised, collected. He did his thing. It was an FCS opponent, and we got Kansas State on Saturday. That's his real test. But I mean, for his first collegiate start, you couldn't ask for more. It was fantastic to see. And I mean, I was a fan out there watching his first pass on 3rd and 8, lofting over a linebacker, and I was jumping up and down. I missed the fumble, and they're like, "Pat, the fumble." I'm like, "Did you see the throw?" I mean, like, come on.
But his first throw, though,
did you see it?
The touch. I agree. He looked phenomenal. Listen, only 2 incompletions on the day. Yeah. I mean, he only had 200-something yards, but listen, he didn't need more than 200-something yards. And he, like you said, the poise was there. The confidence was there.
I mean, he was almost perfect. I mean, Dante Fleming had that drop touchdown, which was a dot, like right in the breadbasket. Yeah. But I mean, he'll bounce back. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good player. And then I believe that, he had that jump ball to you, Keith, for the touchdown as well. And then I think there's like a 50-50 ball. That was the other incompletion. Yeah. But I mean, it was great. It's great to see.
Yeah, I did. I mean, there was a little pause from me on a few throws. Looked like he tried to guide it in a few times, like in the second half. It was like coming out of the second half, there was one throw. I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe an out route or something like that, where he had a guy wide open and it looked like he tried to kind of guide it in there, and it was a little short.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like after that, maybe 2 or 3 throws, he was kind of in his head and he was short on a few more.
Yeah,
but
that too.
He got it back together, and obviously there were completions. So you can't complain too much. And I think listen, not a lot you can complain about with almost going perfect, right?
Yeah. I mean, first start, great game, but true test is Saturday at 11 a.m. in Yulman.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it was that first throw, like you're talking about, first throw was so good. Like, I was comfortable after that.
Yeah.
The way he floated it in.
Because on that 3rd and 8, you're like, okay, we're going to see what he's got.
Yep.
This is his true test. And then that beautiful throw. And I'm like, okay, everyone just get ready.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of the Pratt game last year. The real efficient, when he was at the first game of the season last year. It was a real efficient. He didn't have the multiple big plays like they had. But it was just an efficient game. Everything looked good. A couple underthrows, like Patty said, but I mean, nothing concerning at all, really.
That's a great comparison, though. Actually, that's what I was thinking, and I didn't even bring it up just now. It reminded me a lot of Pratt in another way, though. In the way of, it just seemed like he made the right play in the right moment, right? Like, he didn't force anything. He had a couple underthrows, like you said, but also in situations where he needed to tuck and run, he tucked it and he ran.
Yeah.
He never had to throw it away, but it looked like he knew what to do and when to do it. Calm, cool Cali kid, like you said. Like, he just looked like he knew what the hell was going on, which is awesome to see.
And it was great to see our offensive line and pass protection. I mean, it was a clean pocket all game, and then after holding on the ball for 4 or 5 seconds, which he won out of offensive line, and he just like, okay, I'm going to go run the ball.
Yeah.
And then he got those yards.
The one that really did it for me was the one he got a little pressure and then faded into his left up the right sideline.
Yeah.
Was it like a 30-yard pass or something like that? It was on the money. I was like, all
right,
I think we might have something here.
He set his feet. That was later in the game after he had those throws that were a little underthrown. He shifts in the pocket, sets his feet real quick underneath him, and throws that dot down. I don't
even know if his feet were fully set. I think he might have just been fading in.
It was the one where he's running towards the Tulane sideline, right? And then you could just see where he's just kind of
I'm thinking of
on
a
the
different
run.
one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a different one. I'm talking about he shifted in the pocket later in the game, and he like moves inside the pocket, gets his feet back underneath him, and throws a bomb.
Well, there you go. He had multiple ones to
I think he had a 68 yarder to Mario later in the game. Yeah, I think that's the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. Well, you bring up Mario. I think that's a good transition to start talking about. I think that was the big story of the offseason was the weapons they brought in through the transfer portal, and it was kind of a quiet game for most of them. I mean, granted, when you only throw 17 total passes, it's kind of tough to do that. But I think Mario showed you that he is on another level.
Oh yeah.
4 for 124.
Yeah.
Just
no touchdowns though. What's up with that?
No touchdowns. But just, overall thoughts on like the big name transfers. Obviously we haven't seen Shaz yet out there. So that's another weapon that he's going to get. But anybody from the receiving group, the rushing group that stood out to you?
I mean, yeah, Mario was great. 124 yards, 4 catches. Hopefully he can get a touchdown this Saturday. And I mean, he's our slot guy, and he's going to be like our main catching target. I feel like Dante Fleming had a great offseason. I believe he got the Trident Award from our strength and conditioning coach, Rusty Witt. But yeah, Mario Williams, I'm hoping we can kind of see a little more, maybe like some jet sweeps or kind of like some jet touch passes like you see in college football 25 video game. Yeah. But I would love to see him come into the backfield, take some handoffs and just let him open up those wheels and see what he's got. And Keith Brown is another guy on the outside, which I could also see him play in the slot too. So you could have Shaz press on the outside if he's healthy and ready to go, and then Dante Fleming on the outside, go with some 4 wide receiver sets and put Keith and Mario in the slots and see what they can do. But I mean, it's speed, all speed, and it's great.
Like Lightning McQueen.
Yeah.
I love Keith Brown.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't think he gets the hype that he really deserves. All these transfers that came in, he's the one that really started it.
Yeah.
And
Texas A&M.
Yep. Patty knows. I've been on the hype train for him since he got here. So that was cool to see. I think a person kind of flying under the radar is Shady this week.
Yes.
4 for 48 yards. I mean, Mekhi had like a slow game, but I think Shady really stood out.
Yeah.
That was the only other person on offense that really stood out to me. We didn't talk about Ty Thompson at all.
Yes.
That was kind of a surprise, I think, to see the Taysom Hill package.
Loved that. Those little Taysom Hill, young Tim Tebow-ish, kind of like letting him do his thing. But I think they call it the tsunami package. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it's called. But when I first saw him go out there, I'm like, whoa, Ty's going out there. What's he going to do? And then, he fakes it to Mekhi and then just takes off. And I'm just like, I'm in love with this. This is fantastic. Red zone, key situations. Yep. Now against Kansas State, I believe they're very vanilla with that package against our previous team, but against Kansas State, I hope they can open it up.
Yeah.
Do some RPOs, repass options. If Mekhi's got an open hole, give it to him. Let Mekhi do his thing. If not, bring it back, and then you can bring Mario Williams, Keith Brown on some slants or some like quick little cutbacks. Or out routes. And
you think they're going to dive into him throwing the ball a little bit more out of that package?
I really do. I think he could be the unsung hero of this game. Maybe like as we get in the red zone, if Mekhi Hughes got an open hole, hand it off to him, and then if not, you got the receivers coming in on some quick action. Slant routes or maybe some cutbacks or out routes. And then, going back to what you said about Shoddy, I mean, it looks like he put in a lot of work on the off season.
Yeah. He looks bigger.
He does, because I noticed one thing last year, he would go down on first contact. And then now that previous game was FCS opponent, but he was actually breaking some tackles and doing some things out there, which I really enjoyed too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You mentioned Mekhi had somewhat of an off game, and that was the one thing. We've talked about some of the positives, I guess, and I wanted to bring up some of the negatives from the SCS opponent. Obviously, like there are some things we could call out. Is it a concern that Mekhi didn't have the game you would expect against that level of competition?
I don't know. I think it's too early to be concerned. I think it's tough because he should have had a better game, but still averaged 4 yards a carry. Like it wasn't an awful game, right? Then when you get into the red zone, he gets the touchdown there. So, I I guess you'd like to see more, but he feels like he's going to come into play more against maybe like a Kansas State where you're just going to wear them down all game. And then he seems like the kind of guy, like when you get into the fourth quarter, you're not going to want to hit him. And you talk about Shadi looking bigger. I think they all generally look big. Makai looks like a man-child out there right now.
They got 5 running backs who could all do something.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to see Jamario McClure, the true freshman, come in, and he only got, I think, like 4 carries, but I saw him making some moves out there, and the kid's fast too. So, I mean, he's probably going to redshirt this season, but I mean, that's someone to keep an eye on, like that down the road. Yeah.
I mean, 5 running backs. You score 4 rushing touchdowns, right? Like they clearly had an advantage in the running game, and hopefully you continue to see that translate. The O-line look great. Definitely a lot of good things that come out of that. The only other question I had coming out of that game, negative wise, is special teams and penalties. Some of those things.
That's what I'm going to bring up next.
Definitely going to have to clean some of those up. Like special teams was an issue. Like if I had to point at one thing, some people might call out penalties. They'll get that cleaned up, I think. Special teams was an issue. There's no reason they should have been looking that bad. I didn't pull up the stats, but I mean, there was multiple returns where it just looked like Tulane had no shot at covering these guys.
They had 2 big returns. The kickoff coverage, that's an issue. And especially against Kansas State. Kansas State's got 3 different guys who have returning abilities. Dylan Edwards, their running back. He's a shifty guy, came over from Colorado. Keegan Johnson and Jace Brown, both wide receivers. They're probably going to be starting on the wideout position for them as well. But they got great return ability, fast guys. I mean, they got to clean it up. But I mean, you got all the faith in John Summerall and this coaching staff to do that. They saw the issues and they're going to correct them, and they have to. Otherwise, that's not going to be. It's going to be a bad game
for sure.
Yeah, I thought for the first drive and a half, I was a little concerned with the defense because especially the first drive. But when you think about it, Southeastern had an entire offseason to play in the first drive. I think you see that throughout college football in week 1. Like even in the Florida State, Georgia Tech game, both teams went right down the field the first drive. You have all season to plan for that. That second drive, they started to settle in, and then eventually you get the 100-yard pick 6. So overall,
that'll shut things down real quick.
Yeah, overall, I'm not too concerned about.
It's kind of like a bend don't break kind of defense. I felt like in that first half, but I think on the defensive line side with pass rush. That's key. I mean, you got Pat Jenkins, Aiden Huntington, you brought in from ULM. Terrell Allen playing that bandit role position. You brought in from, I believe, Indiana State, an FCS program. And then Cam Hamilton, who I think is going to be a breakout player. I think he's going to have a big year. I was a fan of him last year. He had 4 sacks last year. He had a sack and a half this game, and I think a tackle for loss and a forced fumble that Sam Howard, the linebacker for us, for Tulane, recovered. But Cam Hamilton, I think he's in store for a big season, and this defensive line has to step up against this Kansas State, running game, and then going to their quarterback, Avery Johnson, who's a Heisman hopeful. Well, a lot of K-State and other people in the college football world think. But it's going to be interesting seeing how this D-line lines up and plays against a better opponent.
Yeah. So let's get into that. You want to transfer into the Kansas State preview a little bit here? I know we're talking about them a little bit. We talked about their quarterback, their running game. I think coming out of last week, obviously they played an FCS opponent as well. They didn't shut them out. I'll say that much. They didn't score as many points. I'll say that much. I just want to call those 2 things out real quick. But they did look good, right? They had a slow start. I think they closed the game averaging 9.2 yards per carry on the ground.
TJ Giddens had a huge game.
Yeah, just nasty, ridiculous. But they lost the turnover battle. They had some issues there. The receivers didn't really look great.
No.
The quarterback looked okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of going with Mensah, going back to him. He's a younger quarterback, sophomore. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But yeah, he's a younger guy, sophomore. I believe that was his first. I could be wrong, but I remember Will Howard was there last year. But I believe that might have been his first start. Could be wrong on that, but he's inexperienced, and Tulane could capitalize on the defensive side, trying to get in his face, pressure him into some mistakes and see what happens. But yeah, he's a great quarterback, fast, dual threat guy. He's going to make some moves, I believe, early in the game. I think they're going to try to at least run the ball with him a lot. And then you got DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I believe both teams are going to come out trying to run the ball, establish the run, and see what they can do. And then if not, Kansas State, going back to what you said about the receiving core, I wasn't really impressed. I know they got Dante Cephas from Penn State, former transfer wide out there. They got him. He's supposed to be their number one guy. Didn't even have a catch.
Yeah.
Against UT Martin.
Yeah.
And then Keegan Johnson, he's supposed to have a big year. I know last year he was hurt pretty much for most of the time. And then Jace Brown's their other guy. And then they got some other guys kind of who could come in and fill out. But we'll see how the receiving room does. And then I believe our secondary is great. You know, we got 4 guys who could all come in and do something. Micah Robinson, Jonathan Edwards, and then our 2 home guys, Rayshawn Pleasant and Jaheim Johnson.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting to see how everything turns out, because this is the true test for both teams.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Just touching on you were wondering if he had any starts before. It doesn't look like he had any starts last year.
okay.
He did have,
So I know Will Howard was the main guy.
he did have a 2-game. So his 2 biggest contributions came against Texas Tech and TCU. And you talked about the dual threat. That's really where he shined.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, he only threw 9-10 passes in each game. But against Texas Tech, he had 13 rushes for 90 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So certainly seems to be able to run. And then he followed that up against TCU with 16 for 73. So he definitely seems like he can run a little bit.
QB contain is going to be key.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I think last week he only had, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like under 30 yards, maybe 30 to 40 yards rushing. Like I was looking through the stats earlier. It didn't seem like anything jumped out at me.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. 14 for 21, 2 touchdowns, 153 yards passing. 3 for 37.
Yeah, it was nothing crazy, which stuck out to me, because you're playing an FCS school. Now, granted, it's week 1, like things happen. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think too. What's the just going down a different rabbit hole here? What's the line out on this game? 9.5 or something like that?
9.5, and I think 49.5 total, I believe.
Yeah.
I think.
Is it interesting to you that coming off of week 1, that Tulane isn't getting as much respect as far as that line goes, playing a home game? I know it's a Power 5 school. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Kansas State's ranked. They're a good team. And then, I mean, maybe if we played a better opponent, maybe that line would be different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big betting guy, so I don't really follow that whole kind of thing. So, but maybe Tulane would be getting a little more love if they didn't play an FCS opponent. But I mean, I'm kind of, I was expecting them to be the underdog no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
it's at 10 points.
10 points now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, you got to assume it also has to do with Darian Mensah being the quarterback. He looked good, but he's still unproven, right?
Yeah.
So like if he shows up against Kansas State, I don't think, win or lose, if he has a solid game, I don't think Tulane is 10-point favorites. 10-point underdogs, the rest of the way.
Yeah. And the key thing for this is, for Tulane at least, if they can beat this Kansas State team at home, and then, they can afford, I hate to say this, they can afford to lose to Oklahoma at Oklahoma. It's going to be a tough game at Oklahoma. But this is the biggest game on their schedule. Yeah. In order for them to get in the college football playoff, they have to win this game. If they don't, then they better do something in Oklahoma. Yeah. Because if they go in it with 2, they could still squeak in there, winning out the conference and everything. But I believe this is the key game for them to make it to the playoffs.
I agree. I totally agree. Somebody tweeted, it was like a Group of 5 account tweeted something about, hey, who has the biggest matchup this week? Like, who's the most important game in the Group of 5? And they listed a couple of them. And I just had to keep pointing to the Tulane game, because listen, you lose this week. Oklahoma's even tougher than K-State, and you're going to Oklahoma. Yeah. So, your chances go out the window. Yes, you can still have a successful season. And like that, we talk about this all the time. Like, what is success? And like, how do you measure success for this first year of Summerall? But I think the expectation genuinely is to have the opportunity to go to college football playoff. Oh yeah. And you have to win.
Well, John Summerall said that himself on his introductory, press conference. He's like, we're going to the playoffs. Yeah. And the goal is to go to the playoffs and win a national championship.
Yeah. And they followed that up with, you saw it with the transfer portal and the guys that they brought in. And
amazing transfer.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you can clearly tell where their head's at. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll be there in person too. So
yeah, I will hopefully be there. hopefully I might be going out for work, but hopefully I will be here and watch that game. I'm ready.
Yeah. I think if it feels like you have to get one of these two games in the next 2 weeks, and obviously the one that seems more likely is Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, Oklahoma is only ranked 2 spots ahead of Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I haven't got to see much Oklahoma play, so I'm curious. Do you know who they play? This coming up week?
Let's see. I'll pull it up real quick.
But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, I think, when was the last time Oklahoma was kind of like serious about anything, though? I think
Oklahoma plays
with Lincoln
Houston.
Riley.
Yeah.
They play Houston.
Houston?
Oh, boy.
The irony.
Oh, man.
That's kind of funny.
So, like, who are we rooting for in that game? I guess it has to be Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Oklahoma. 'Cause if Oklahoma loses to Houston and then they beat us, that's,
Yeah.
that's rough.
Yeah.
That is funny. That's who it is.
That is great.
Just to, the rest of the schedule, because we were talking about that. No ranked opponents the rest of the way. Maybe Memphis is ranked by the end of the year when you get to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like really your next big challenge isn't till the end of the season.
On Turkey Day, right? Thanksgiving.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be a fun one.
Heck yeah.
So
cool. Okay, cool. Let's talk keys of the game. I know we've alluded to a lot of them. You had to point to a couple keys of the game for Tulane to win this thing. What's most important?
Ooh, getting the running game going, either with the quarterback or with ncaa, or I would love to see Shoddy get used in some key passing situations, some swing passes, some screens. That's his little niche you got with this offense. And then, I mean, if the running game isn't going, they can't get it going. Open up this playbook. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what this game is all about. Get that playbook open. I want to see empty packages, 5 wide receiver sets, 4 wide receiver sets, especially if Shaz is there. And you know what? Just be like, K-State, try and stop us.
Yeah.
Open up the playbook, get this offense rolling, and toss the ball downfield.
Yeah.
That would be something to see on offense. I would love to see that. Defensively, pass rush is got to be key. We have to get home. We have to get Avery, pressure. You got to make him scared in the pocket, and he's got to force or not force, but we got to get him to force mistakes. Mm-hmm. And then, the turnover battle would be great. Clean up the penalties, kickoff coverage. Got to clean that up. Man, it's going to be exciting. I'm really curious to see how we're going to line up, because they have this 3-3-5 defense, 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and then they have 2 corners and 3 safeties. One of them being the jack position, the safety group, kind of like a Troy Polamalu-ish, kind of like linebacker or come over at the corner, right. Or
like a rover type
thing.
And
then so we'll see what happens with that. Man, I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I joked with him yesterday. We were talking about Saints and talking about keys of the game. And I feel like the keys of the game can always be the same thing, right? And it's always going to be the same thing for me. It's always the trenches, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically this game, I'm going pass protection. I think that, yes, you got to get the run game going, and that's going to lead to some other things. I think if you can get some pass protection, you can let your wide receivers go to work. I think their corners are a little weaker.
Yeah.
And listen, you've got the guys, if healthy. I guess we'll see. You've got the guys, even if you just look at Keith and Mario, that could really, make some plays. So I think that's going to be important. And then on the defense side of the ball, obviously pass rush and contain.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the D line in general, I hope. I mean, you got some big boys up front. You got Pat Jenkins, you got Aiden. I think they should be able to handle the run pretty well. But I think containing the quarterback is going to be the biggest thing.
Oh, crucial, especially with Avery back there. I mean, and you read off the stats earlier. I mean, I think he's going to be going for run first. And I don't know. I'm curious to see how his arm is, though. But
we threw a pick last week, and that's, if you want to pull out one more thing for what's important, turnover margin is always important. And right now you got Tulane +2 and the other team -2. So if that rolls over, obviously that's a key indicator of what could happen here. So
Yep.
Y'all mentioned offense and defense. I'll throw out special teams since we did talk about that. You cannot give Kansas State a short field to work with. No,
definitely not.
So hopefully they clean that up. I was trying to find any updates on Shaz's status, but I haven't found anything. So I'm assuming he's still listed as questionable. So I'm going to assume he isn't going to be out there. He did visit Kansas State when he was in the transfer portal.
Yeah, so
there's an interesting nugget.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Another little fun fact too. The defensive end for Kansas State, Toby Osu. I'm going to butcher his last name. I'm just going to keep it at Toby Osu. He's their key pass specialist for Kansas State. So watch out for that guy. He has a little like celebration, a sack celebration, and all he does is just stand very complete still like a running man. And he got that from Bourbon Street, the golden guy on Bourbon Street. So if he gets a sack, he's going to pull out this little freeze golden guy running pose kind of thing.
Well, we can't let that happen, can we?
Definitely not. But yeah, pass protection was great last game, and then that seems like a key, like a great thing that Tulane's got going for him was pass protection.
Yeah, cool. What else? Anything else?
I think that's all we got. Unless y'all had anything else you want to shout out. I know you wanted to end with some.
Let's close with the Lanyap section. We'll call it Lanyap. This is a Green Wave pod. That's an uptown thing. Lanyap, right? Feels like it. So here's what Lanyap will be. I didn't really explain on the front end. I'll explain to everybody as well as you guys. On other podcasts I've been on, we always close out with something near and dear to your heart, whether it's something you want to share, whether it's something about the sport you're talking about, whatever the heck you want to talk about. It literally is just Lanyap, a little bit extra. So anything you want to share, go ahead. If you want, I'll kick it off to give you an idea of how I'm thinking.
Yeah, you go ahead and start it off.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we'll make it easier. So for me, it's just show up. Come to the Tulane game on Saturday, right? It's going to be beautiful weather. I think at kickoff, it's going to be 78 degrees. No rain in the forecast. So it's looking beautiful. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff, a little bit early, but if you get out there early, it's going to be even prettier, probably like low 70s. Drink you a few cold ones in the morning. Like, come on, have a good day. And watch them beat K-State. That's it.
Yeah. I think just be loud. Be loud too. Just get out there, get a couple drinks in your system.
Yeah. Also,
and then just get going.
I'll be there. So if you do get there early, I'm probably going to be walking around interviewing people as long as my foot will allow because I'm an old man and I have injuries. And I'll probably maybe I'll drink a cold one with you. So, come find me.
Yeah, I'll be standing in front of the press box, walking back and forth. Probably walk about 3 miles the whole entire game. That's why I can't sit down. Like I remember when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, I was watching on my TV, and I walked 3 miles in front of my TV. I was wearing one of those Apple watches, and I walked 3 miles in front of my TV that whole game.
You're a Bengals fan?
Oh yeah, big Bengal. I'm from Ohio, so
okay.
Big Bengals fan.
Heck yeah.
Well, I will take this opportunity to shout out my other team. Since I want to shout out to the Miami Hurricanes.
The U.
Yeah. So it's been a long time since I've witnessed good football for the Hurricanes. It's kind of funny to say that Tulane has been more successful and probably more relevant than Miami in the last however many years it's been. But Cam Ward showed up.
I like him.
He looks really good as advertised. Number one on a lot of Heisman boards now all of a sudden. So it's fun. I think college football in general is better when teams like Miami are good. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. And I just wanted to shout them out because I don't get a chance.
I should have worn my 2002 Ohio State national championship t-shirt, but that'd have been a little awkward on Tulane podcast.
They need a new stadium. That's all I'll say about Miami.
Yeah. So don't get me started. Well, that's it. If you want to wrap us up, Patty.
Yeah, that's it. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, show up to the game Saturday, 11 a.m. It's going to be beautiful at kickoff. Like I said, I will be there. Come find me. We will be here again next week to recap the K-State game, to talk about Oklahoma, and hopefully, have some good things to say about what came out of this weekend. We appreciate you guys. Anybody else have anything to say before we close out?
No, I just want to say thank you guys for bringing me on. Had a blast. Hope I wasn't too nervous looking out there, but
you're good.
All right.
You're good. Appreciate you guys. Like, follow, subscribe, all those things at Be in the Know. Wave Watch is going to be on the Be in the Know YouTube. So go subscribe there and you'll be updated weekly.
Yeah. And then you can follow me on X at Roll That Wave. Thank you guys.
Awesome. See you later. Roll Wave.